Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us today for the EBSCO Discovery Service approach to delivering relevant results with Tito Sierra. Tito Sierra serves as Director of Product Management for EBSCO Information Services and is responsible for lead search-related product development for EBSCO. Prior to joining EBSCO, Tito held technology leadership positions at the North Carolina State University Libraries and the MIT Library, where he recently served as the Associate Director for Technology. Tito earned a Master's of Science in Information Management from Syracuse University. In this one-hour webinar, Tito will discuss EBSCO's vision for discovery, user search behavior, how EDS relevancy ranking works, and recent EDS search enhancements. Thank you, and here's Tito.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for this webinar about EDS's approach to delivering relevant results. My name is Tito Sierra, and for the next hour, we're going to talk about one of my favorite topics, which is library search. As Rachel mentioned in her bio, although I'm currently at EBSCO Information Services, in my prior career, I worked in research libraries for about 10 years, and a big important part of the work that I did when I worked in research libraries was related to searching library content. So I'm really pleased to have the opportunity to talk to you about how EBSCO's approaching that problem space. In terms of the agenda, here's what I'm going to cover in this session. I'm going to begin by talking about EBSCO's vision for discovery, which guides our investments in search and feature enhancements. I'll talk a little bit about user search behavior and share some findings from some analysis we're doing related to analyzing EDS search logs. One topic that's of great interest and I get a lot of questions about as a product manager for search at EBSCO is how EDS relevance ranking works. So I will walk through some information about that topic. I'll end the webinar by talking about some recent enhancements we've made to EDS search that you may or may not be aware of that tie into our strategy for achieving our vision for discovery. And then we'll have some time at the end for general discussion and Q&A. I will, in terms of questions, I will pause at the end of each of these sections of the agenda and field a couple of questions that participants submit through the chat. So as you have questions, as I cover my content, please submit them through the chat, and then during my question pauses, I will pick a few questions to answer, and then we'll have some additional discussion at the end. So EBSCO's vision for discovery is quite simple. We want to give users the results they want for every search in every context. And I'll explain what I mean by every search in every context. But with discovery services, we have some interesting challenges in terms of search. What I'm showing here on the screen is an example of the MIT Library's recently redesigned library homepage, where they feature quite prominently a single search box, and this particular implementation, MIT is an EDS customer. So when the users type in the search box, they're actually searching EDS. So with discovery services, when you put a single search box on a library homepage, user expectations and user behavior will span a lot of different kinds of search use cases. So for example, here on the screen I'm showing some examples of some very common use cases for library search. For example, users searching for a particular book in the catalog. They want to find a print collection item. Undergrads doing research for background research for a term paper. A specialized researcher doing a literature review on a very specialized topic, so they want to go deep in terms of the literature. Librarians are also users as well, and discovery services can be used to support reference interviews. This is meant to illustrate the variety of search use cases that discovery services need to support. And I want to make clear that when we think about how we implement solutions to these use cases, on the technology side, we break these down into specific use patterns. So, for example, searching the catalog, the way we think about it, that's a known item search, specifically a catalog search. An undergrad doing a research for a term paper, that's exploratory subject searching. A librarian supporting a reference interview, oftentimes there's a need to support advanced search strategies such as Boolean searching and fielded searching. So these use cases decompose into specific kinds of search, and those are the specific kinds of search that we layer in enhancements and improvements to really optimize for those use cases. And to be clear, discovery services really need to support all of these search tasks, but these are just a sampling. They really need to support many more search tasks. I'm going to talk a little bit about user search behavior, at least how we've observed user search behavior, both in terms of doing qualitative user research at EBSCO. That includes usability testing, interviews, contextual inquiry, but also looking at log analysis. What I'm showing on the screen here is some examples from a recent log analysis that we pursued specifically for EDS search logs. This particular sample is from a one-week extract of the most frequently occurring terms across multiple markets, filtered to searches that have occurred in at least 100 distinct EDS customers. So this is really the most popular, most commonly searched for terms on EDS platform. This is from a particular week in September 2014. We see a lot of these queries reappear week after week, and we see some queries that are current event searches. So, for example, you'll see Ebola on this list. Just to give you an example of some of the analysis that we're doing with search logs, because we really look at search logs as a source for identifying enhancements that we can make in our product. So this is just a peek behind the curtain on some of the most popular searches in EDS. You'll notice some patterns just even looking at the small data set, which are a lot of these searches are really general, broad topics, and they're also very short, very imprecise. For example, marketing, biology, globalization. These are really broad topics. Now this, to be clear, this is the very, very top of the most frequently searched for terms. But just to give you a context that these are actual searches. These are the kinds of searches that we're getting a lot of. We're handling a lot of through EDS. One of the things that we've done recently, just to understand the kinds of searching that's happening on our platform, is we took a week's of sample terms by specific market. So EBSCO sells the EDS product to many markets, K through 12 schools, public libraries, medical institutions, and academic libraries. This chart is showing an analysis that we did recently, where we took top search terms for specific markets and then classified them by query type. So to identify the distribution of queries by query type, so known item searching. So those are searches for a particular book title or article title. Topical exploratory searching, so those are similar to what I showed in the previous example of these searches on a specific topic. Names refer to queries that have names in them, and some of them are author searching, some of them are information about individuals. So we've classified those separately because it's not always clear exactly whether or not a named search is a topical search or a known item search. And then finally, other or ambiguous are ones that we weren't able to classify into one of the other three categories. So this is just meant to give you a little bit of an insight on the kind of the search patterns that we see across our products. Just, again, a little more insight in looking at the logs. We do see patterns of differentiated use in terms of topical search across different markets. So here are some examples of specific logs pulled from this is from a random set of search terms for a one-week sample in 2014. And you see a lot of variability in terms of the kinds of searches that EDS is processing. So some terms are highly specialized and highly specific. So the example here would be in the academic market, Sapolsky curves, for example, which is, I believe, is a mathematical term. But we also see, and another pattern that we see with a lot of these searches is common misspellings. So paleontology, for example, in a school search is clearly spelt wrong. Even in the medical market, with some of the medical terms often have misspellings in them. So that's another observation we see about usage of searches, that misspellings are common. But you'll see in this sampling, and this is from a random set, not the most frequently searched for terms, that there's a big range in terms of specificity in terms of the kind of topical or exploratory searches that users are seeing. In terms of summarizing some of the observations from user research, I can summarize several observations. So one is that exploratory queries are the most common query type that we see across our system. We certainly get a very large number of known item searches as well, but exploratory searches are the most common. Search queries are often very short. The most frequently occurring query length is about 2 words. We see queries that are many, many words, copy and pasted citations, and we see many single-word queries, but the mode case is 2-word queries. As seen in the example of the top search terms, search queries can often be very broad and imprecise, and misspellings are common. So these observations from user research have implications in terms of how the Discovery Service needs to work to effectively meet user needs. So the Discovery Service needs to leverage subject headings and subject indexing to really connect users to the best quality resources, even when they're typing in very generic terms. Or if search queries are very, very short, the Discovery Service needs to work harder to provide features that help guide the user to a better quality result set. And when I talk about some recently implemented features, I will talk about some enhancements we've done in that space of user-facing search features that guide users to better results. The last observation I have here is one that is validated both through log analysis, but also validated through user research, which is users really focus on the very top end of the search results. So we don't see a lot of evidence for a very small percentage of users who actually page through multiple results. Typically, the vast majority of users will just look at the first page of results, and specifically they'll look at the first top results on that first page. So because the implication of this is that the Discovery Service needs to work really hard to deliver the most relevant results at the very top of the screen, because that's where users' attention is going to be. Now with that, I'd like to pause here and see if folks have any questions about the EBSCO search vision or some of these observations from user research. So if you have questions, please type them into the chat, and I will do my best to answer them. I'm not seeing any questions in the chat. No questions so far? Okay, I will move on. So the next section is how EDS relevance ranking works. for those that want to get some more information about this topic, and you don't have to spend a bunch of work taking a lot of notes on this, you can just go into Google and type in the words relevance ranking, and when you do that, you will get to a page, you get a set of search results where you'll see links to some of the documentation we have about EBSCO Discovery Service at the very top of the results. We have really good search engine optimization, apparently, but the second link on this page is an EBSCO support page titled How is Relevance Ranking Determined in the EBSCO Discovery Service? So what I'm going to present is a walkthrough of the documentation, not of the documentation, but I'm going to cover a lot of the same points that are in the documentation. I'm just going to provide a little bit more background and description on it. But if this is a topic of interest and you have folks in your organizations that are interested in this topic but weren't able to tune into the webinar, please send them to that page. So the metaphor that I like to use for talking about relevance ranking is, I guess, a cooking metaphor. So there are a number of ingredients that factor into delivering a high-quality relevance ranked set of results. These 5 are the 5 main ingredients that EBSCO currently uses for EBSCO Discovery Service. And I'll talk through each of these, but just at a very high level. Matching word frequency, which is a very basic element of almost any information retrieval system. Metadata field weighting, which is the scoring of matches on particular metadata fields count more than others. Value ranking, which is our own internal way of describing how we factor in the content attributes of content as part of the relevance algorithm. Exact field match boosting, and local collections weighting. So one high-level takeaway that I'd like you to have on EDS relevance ranking is that we don't have a very simplistic one-size-fits-all mathematical formula for relevance ranking. We do analysis. Our algorithm includes analysis that's done in several different vectors, and we blend together a variety of factors to deliver the most relevant results. And I'm going to walk through each of these so you have an insight into what some of these questions are, what some of these ingredients are. So metadata field weighting is probably one of the most significant aspects of how relevance ranking works in EDS. And the basic idea is that when we load content into the EDS platform, be it content from third-party content providers, be it local catalog, all that content is mapped to a very richly described set of metadata fields. And we leverage the metadata fields to maximum advantage for relevance ranking. So the way metadata field weighting works is instances of the user's keyword that match in certain fields contribute to a relevance scoring assessment. And certain fields are considered more valuable for relevance weighting than others, so, or count more than others. So what I have on the screen is some of our most basic metadata fields that we use for search at EBSCO, subject headings, title, author supply keywords, so on and so forth. These are not the only metadata fields that we use for field weighting. We use several others, but these are the most commonly occurring fields. And so what we're able to do with metadata field weighting is assign weights to each of these fields such that when matches occur in, let's say, the user search query matches a title field, we're able to give it a little bit more of a scoring emphasis for relevance than if it matched in the full text, for example. And so we continually tune these fields, the weighting of these fields on an ongoing basis based on feedback we get from customers. But this is one big factor that contributes to relevance ranking is metadata field weighting. One point to make here is that the keyword matches that match across multiple metadata fields contribute most to relevance scoring. So if the user's keyword, let's say their search is global warming, and that particular, those words global warming appear in the subject headings field for the record, in the title, in the abstract, that record's going to be more likely scored highly for relevance than one in which matched only a single field. And I should also say another nuance with the way word frequency is scored is that multiple instances of matches within a particular field are, the scoring is decayed there, so we don't have a situation where a field that is has hundreds of instances of a particular word gets scored in an inflated way. We correct for that kind of issue. Value ranking is another key ingredient in relevance ranking, and this refers to the specific attributes of the records that contribute to relevance scoring, independent of the user's keyword. So on the screen, I'm showing a few examples of some of the attributes that we utilize for value ranking. The publication date of the record, what kind of publication it is, whether it's peer-reviewed or not. So these are factors that are independent of the association with the user's keyword, but is a factor that's used to weight certain records higher than others, all other things being equal. So we use more attributes than these, but these are just meant to be illustrative. So just to give you an example with publication date, EDS will prioritize the ranking of more recently published content over newer content, over older content, because we've observed and we've gotten feedback that users are really mostly interested in more newly published content. So, for example, if somebody searches a specialized topic and there are one record which was published 3 months ago, and another record which was published 12 years ago, then all other things being equal, the newer published content would get a bump in terms of relevance scoring. Publication type is another factor. So journal articles, for example, are prioritized over other kinds of publication types, such as book reviews. So we're looking at other factors for use in terms of value ranking, but these are the most common types that we have in the product today. So taking all those ingredients that I mentioned before, we combine all those different factors to produce a composite relevance score for all matching records for the user search query. And we use that score to order the result set. So when we return a relevance ranked result set, it's computed all of those different factors and made its best effort to deliver the most relevant records to the very top of the page. So we don't use a simple formula for relevance ranking, but a bunch of different factors that blend together to try to deliver the best result set for the user. One note about the EDS API. So many of our customers utilize EDS via the API for their own, to get EBSCO Discovery Service results in their own, let's say, their own search application. So EBSCO has a significant ongoing effort in optimizing relevance ranking. And so everything that I've described to date with relevance ranking comes through to the API as well. So the API benefits from all these improvements that we continually make to relevance ranking. Whether you access it through the hosted EDS interface or whether you go through API, you'll get the same result set and the same quality relevance ranking. So now I will pause. I see that we've actually gotten some questions. So I'll pause for questions. Please submit them through the chat, questions related to relevance ranking or anything else I've discussed so far. So I'm going to go through the chat here and look at a couple of examples. Let's see. I have a question. Our librarians want the EDS relevance ranking to work as well as Google's algorithm. Is that possible? Well, that's a difficult question to answer because Google searches different content than what we have in EDS. So a lot of the content that we have in EDS is not available on the open web, so it isn't something that Google would necessarily have access to. The other thing is Google's algorithm tends to work focused on popularity, so the most popular websites tend to appear at the top of the results set. We don't use popularity as a factor in EDS, so it's a bit different. That said, we do look at Google as a model for how to implement different kinds of search features, and I'll show an example in the upcoming search enhancements section that shows an example of that. So we do look at Google for user experience, as a model for user experience, but in terms of the relevance ranking algorithm, it's a little bit of an apples to oranges comparison. Let's see, another question. Do customers have the ability to tweak relevancy? So for instance, if I want my users to see print books over ebooks, can I set this? We have a limited options for customers to tweak relevancy. Where customers can tweak relevancy is in the local collections that they load onto the platform. So that would include the the catalog records or institutional repository records. So customers that load a catalog onto their EDS profile have the ability to apply a weighting to their records as a whole so that their catalog records have a bump in terms of relevancy relative to other content in EDS. But beyond that, we don't provide customers at present with a lot of options for tweaking the relevancy. Our efforts with improving relevancy are focused on making improvements that will benefit all customers in as many use cases as we can support. Let's see, another question here is your algorithm publicly available or published? Well, there isn't a single algorithm, there isn't a math formula. What we look at is we look at a bunch of different ingredients that are used as factors for relevance ranking. And if you do a Google search for relevance ranking, you'll get a link to an EBSCO support site page, which describes a lot of all the various factors that are used for relevance ranking. So there isn't a single algorithm that we publish. It's the way that the system's designed that's a little bit more sophisticated than that. Okay, in the interest of time, I think I'm going to continue on, and I'll circle back to some of these other questions at the end of the presentation. I just want to make sure I'm mindful of the time here. Okay, in this next section, I'm going to talk about some recent EDS search enhancements that we've made into the product. These are enhancements that have come online in the last 12 months, and touch upon some of the themes that I alluded to earlier in our observations of user research and user search behavior. So the first example that I'll provide is a feature that we call Research Starters. This is a feature that's meant to address the commonly occurring use case where we see, particularly at the very top of the search logs, most frequently searched for terms, these really broad general searches for information on a particular topic. So these aren't users searching for a specific article or for a specific author. These are really general broad searches. So we have a feature called Research Starters, which detects for a large percentage of the very high frequency search terms. We trap the user query and we'll show a placard at the very top of the results. So this appears right above the regular set of search results. As you can see highlighted here, in this example, the user searches for Ebola, and we were able to return a research starter for Ebola virus. So Ebola virus, this is a curated reference page with citations that includes background information about this particular topic. It includes references to works to learn more information. It includes general background information. Here's another example, ADHD. ADHD is the most commonly used term for attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. So Research Starters is built in a smart way so that we're able to match not just on the exact title of the research starter, but on a variety of alternate keywords that are used for these particular topics. And this isn't meant to be an answer engine so much as really a way to, within the EDS search experience, connect people to high-level information to get a broader introduction to a particular topic. Our user research team at EBSCO recently completed a contextual inquiry focused on college students. And this particular use pattern of students who are starting to do a research topic and wanting to get background information on a topic is a very common use case. So we've seen it come up both in terms of looking at the search logs, but we've also seen it as a use case in our interviews and our contextual inquiry or qualitative user research as well as a need. So these research starters are a way to address that common use case, and the content itself is curated content. We have a little bit over 60,000 topic overviews, and the content is provided by Salem Press PhD's Encyclopedia Britannica. And so again, this is a way to address that particular common use case of these broad topical search terms. Another recent enhancement that we made pertains to known item catalog searching in EDS. So in our previous, this change went live in at the end of April of this year, and in our previous model, we were doing keyword matching and not really handling the catalog search title searching as well as we could. So this is an example of a before case where the records returned by EDS were matching the user's keywords but not their user expectation. In this particular case, the user searches for "the sun also rises." It's a general keyword search. It's not a title search. It's not limited to the catalog, but many of our users are looking for the book, the specific book, "The Sun Also Rises." So what we did is we implemented an enhancement specifically focused on catalog content, where we applied an extra relevance boost for searches that exactly matched the title of books in the catalog. So in this case, we applied a relevance boost for exact title matching, and we're now more able to meet the user's expectation. So one of the things that we do is look at patterns of use across different searches, then identify what are some tactical improvements that we can layer in onto the relevance ranking algorithm to better support those use cases. So even if the user is searching in EDS and they search for a book title along with lots of other titles, that they're able to get the work that they're interested in. So that's a recent enhancement specifically around known item catalog title searching. Another enhancement that we worked on recently was an enhanced autocomplete feature. So autocomplete, I think by this point everybody is aware of autocomplete, which is the feature when you start typing in a search box, you get a list of suggestions to complete your search term. What I'm showing on the screen now is our before picture. In the previous version of autocomplete on EDS, we sourced from a control vocabulary, and it was we had coverage for about 70,000 terms, and it was alphabetically ordered and updated quarterly. With our enhanced autocomplete that we deployed this year, we're now able to offer autocompletions for millions of terms. And the way we're able to do this is really by tapping into the EBSCO search logs. So we're mining the usage of the search product, specifically all the search queries that EDS users and EBSCO host research database users are submitting through our system as a data source to facilitate high-quality completion. So you can see the before and after here. And the before, you start typing in A, and you get a mix of queries that aren't particularly as useful as the after picture, where you start typing in A and you get more commonly useful terms, and it scales out. So as you start typing in more letters, you get more precise suggestions. And the way we're able to do this is by leveraging a much larger pool of completion terms, and we're ordering these by popularity. Popularity defined as the frequency of the search term on our platform. And this turns out to be a highly useful way of being able to generate suggestions that meet the user expectation and are the most likely suggestions for the user's search term. One note about this is that because we use the search logs, we're able to update these lists on a daily basis. So hot or emergent topics that come up, if it's something that's being searched is very commonly across our platform, it'll roll into the autocomplete list and be a completion that's available for everybody to use. So it's able to be responsive to current events or other kinds of queries that commonly occurring queries that are emergent in our customer base. Another feature of our autocomplete is that it supports fuzzy matching to support misspellings or typographical errors. Based on the search logs, we've seen a significant number it's not uncommon for a lot of user search terms to have misspellings or typographical errors in them, but our autocomplete service is able to handle those cases. So in this particular example, the user searching for centrifugal, but spelt it with a C rather than the G, which is the proper spelling. So we're able to do fuzzy matching so that we can match what the intent was here, which was centrifugal, and provide those completions. I should also note that for customers who are in a location, customers that are entering queries that are in not in English also have autocomplete support as we look at the most popular terms across our search platform as a whole, which is international. So popular search queries that are in Chinese, for example, or in German, would be supported in the autocomplete list as well. So it's an internationalized feature. The next example is a beta feature, which we call the publication title placard, or exact match placard for journal titles. The idea here is that customers that have EDS and are using our publication finder product have the ability to have a special exact match placard appear at the top of the EDS search results, so that if the user types in the name of a journal, that they actually get a match on the exact title match for the journal name. And the feature is smart so that it's actually restricted not to all possible journal titles, but the journal titles that are in the library's holdings. So when users use the publication finder product, they load in the holdings of which publications they subscribe to. And if they turn on this widget in the EDS interface, when the user types in a journal title name, and there's a single exact match on that title, it'll show up at the very top of the results, and then provide an ability to go and click through that journal title to look at a set of holdings, or they can actually search within that publication directly. So if they're interested in getting a specific article from a journal, and they only provide the journal title search as a keyword, we can connect them to this publication title placard, and then they can go ahead in that secondary search box and search for the specific title, specific article or articles within that journal, which again, the intent here is to provide an enhancement, a user-facing enhancement to address a common use case, which is in this case journal title searching, and just make it very easy for the users to access this information without having to go through separate applications. If they go into EDS, they type in that single search box, type in the name of the journal, we can better connect them to what they're looking for. So this is in the category of anticipating the user's intent, and we are looking at other enhancements of this type to really identify the pattern of the search intent based on the query, and based on that, deliver to the very top of the results exactly the content that the user was looking for. And if we don't have a match there, obviously the relevance ranking algorithm will be the way that we try to get them the best possible content. This is just a second example of, in this case, consumer reports. So as user searches for consumer reports, we get a hit on that publication. They can click through to look at information on that publication or search within that publication. So to summarize, with these search enhancements, what we're trying to do is several things. We're trying to optimize for common search use cases. The example I gave is the research starters to cover these broad topical searches that we see at the very top of the search logs, doing exact title match relevance boosting for commonly occurring catalog title searches, also with the publication finder placard that I just displayed, common use cases, users searching for a specific journal title, and trapping for those cases and being able to deliver a high quality result at the very top of the results list, which is where the user's focus is going to be. The other thing that we're doing is looking beyond the user's explicit keywords to deliver relevant results. So the example that I showed there is the fuzzy matching in autocomplete, where even if they mistyped the name of what they were looking for, we can still match on what we can complete that query and get them to a result set, which is going to be a better quality result set than what they intended in the first place. The other theme is leveraging platform usage as a utility filter. So what I mean by that is looking at the usage on the EBSCO platform, leveraging the usage, effectively crowdsourcing, using crowdsourcing to improve the quality of results. So again, the example there is the autocomplete queries ranked by popularity, where we're able to deliver a better set of query completions for the user's initial query by leveraging all of the searches that have come before. And that's a direction that we're looking at extending with some future enhancements of leveraging the platform usage as a way to improve the result set. And again, the focus is another theme is really trying to drive the best results to the very top of the results list, and not assuming that the user will go through pages and pages of results to find what they're looking for. So relevance ranking is all about trying to optimize that to the best of our abilities. And smart matching placards like the journal placard, like research starters, are ways to be able to deliver at the very top of the results the information that the user is looking for, so they could go into the system, run a search, get the best result, and then satisfy that discovery need. So that's the summary that I have for search enhancements, and that actually concludes the prepared presentation that I had. And so I wanted to leave about 15 minutes for Q&A. So I'm going to go ahead and look at the chat and see what kind of questions have come in. Okay, so let's see. When does the journal search beta go live? It's already live for a set of, it's in beta rollout for a set of customers who are on our new publication finder product. So we have some customers who are already using it, and as we migrate more customers to that product, then more users will be using it. So it's effectively in a beta, primarily because it's a subset. It's a feature enhancement that's specifically tied to the publication finder product. So it's live already, but it's in rollout phase. Let's see, another question. Can anyone turn the title placard? Can anyone turn the title placard, or since it is beta, will only some be able to access it? So yeah, only those who are migrated to our new Publication Finder product will be able to have access to that feature. So in the near future, so as many customers utilize that product, they'll have access to that feature. Can a user browse popular searches or translated into English, Chinese popular searches? We don't have a separate feature that displays what the most popular searches are. So if that's the feature that you're asking about, we don't have that. Though effectively the autocomplete is that. So as you start typing in a query, what you're actually getting are the most popular searches where your partial query that are associated with your partial query. So if I type in marketing, so if I type in the word marketing, I will get a set of completions that are queries that start with the word marketing. And those queries are the most popular queries on the platform. So the autocomplete effectively provides a way to see the most popular searches in EDS. Does this known item catalog search boost need to be turned on in some manner? No, it is a baseline enhancement that we deployed to all customers earlier this year. So it's automatically turned on for customers, for all customers. It isn't a special feature that can be turned on or off. Let's see, can you hide research starters? Yes, there is an ability in the admin for EDS to be able to turn off research starters if you don't think that that's value add for your particular user group. Let's see, another question here. Hold on. Another question. See, how does relevance ranking work for databases that don't have some of the metadata fields, for example, subject headings? Good question. So we basically have a set of settings, metadata field weighting settings that apply to content family types. So if there's a content family type that doesn't have subject headings, then we distribute weighting on other metadata fields so they're not penalized because they don't have subject headings. So we have the ability to do differential weighting depending on the content type family so that we don't have a situation where content that doesn't have subject headings is significantly penalized. It's a very good question. Okay, another question here. Sometimes I restrict a keyword using SU. SU is a subject field, and get results that do not have that keyword anywhere in the SUs that I can see. How can that happen? Well, first thing I would say is that if any current EDS customers get examples like this of things that are puzzling in search, I strongly recommend that you submit a support issue on it. You can send an email to eds@ebsco.com with a description of the issue, and we'll have somebody who will look into that issue and be able to give you an answer to the question. Now, to answer this specific question, it's possible that the searching on a specific subject field could be matching a hidden subject field that's not visible in the detailed record page, and that's how the matching is happening on that SU field. That's something that comes up every once in a while. We're not able to show every single subject heading that's part of the subject index, so it's possible that in the example you're referring to, you might have hit upon an alternate or a hidden subject field that wasn't displayed. That shouldn't happen too often, but that is the most likely reason why that occurred. But again, when you encounter issues of that type, please submit them to us and provide the specific example of the search query that you tried so we can help diagnose the issue. Let's see here. I want to go back. I want to make sure I cover some of the earlier questions. Let's see. Search enhance let's see. Hyperlinked subject headings on detailed record do not produce results in context. Hyperlinked subject headings. I'm not sure what the question is there. It sounds like maybe there's something that is not working the way you would like it to work with the way hyperlinked subject headings work. Again, I would encourage, if you have specific feedback on features in EDS that should work better than they do, please submit them. We'll take a look at them and see if we can address the issue. Let's see, is the EBSCO Publication Finder product a program that we need to pay extra for? I'm pretty sure the answer to that is no, although I'm not the expert on Publication Finder, but I believe it's part of the package for EDS, so you don't have to pay extra for that. Okay, let's see some other questions here. Will we be getting more publication types to enhance our searches? So assuming asking for different kinds of content, different kinds of format types that would be part of the EDS package, I can say that we are looking at integrating video content onto the EDS platform so that users can search and get back content in video form, which we know there's a demand for. So I'm not sure if that's a publication type that you're referring to, but that's something that we're looking at enhancing media, effectively media, multimedia, images, et cetera. Those kinds of format content types are ones that we're looking at enhancing the platform. I wondered why EBSCO databases are not set to automatically assume "and" between search terms. That is a setting that can be configured in the profile for that database. So you should have control for a database to be able to set what the default search mode is, and it can be set to be "or" or and so I think that's a setting that you control. What metadata goes into similar results link in a detailed record? Clicking on it usually serves up a plethora of topics that are completely unrelated. I'm sorry to hear that. The similar results feature link is powered by a technology called Smart Text Searching. And my understanding about the way it works is when you click on that, it takes the title of the article and runs a search to try to find similar articles related to that topic based on the keywords, based on the words in the title. That should, it uses a relevance ranking algorithm and doesn't require all those words to be in the record. But if you have specific feedback, it's possible that you might have an example where that's not performing well. So again, if you find those examples, please send them to eds@ebsco.com and we'll look into it. Okay, let's see. Other questions. What is an API, and can you define what EDS API is? Yes. Oh, I apologize for for using acronyms in this case. So API refers to an application programming interface, and an API is a way, the EDS API is a way for customers who have their own search application to be able to search EDS and get the results from EDS, but display them in their own application interface. So many libraries have built their own discovery services where they're able to utilize the API to get results and display them in their own web application with their own design, custom interface. Or there's a phenomenon called bento box searching where libraries can search and include results from multiple content targets, so catalog separately from article index. And so you can use the EDS API to power the results set in that way. So effectively, API is a way of searching EDS to just get the data back for the search so that you could display that data in your own applications. We have partnerships with several ILS providers where you use the ILS provider's interface, but the article searching, the discovery portion of the interface is powered by EDS, and so those are using the EDS API to get relevance ranked results in their application. Okay, there's another question here. Will we be getting more source types then, as in electronic resources, reviews, videos, which can be several different kinds of platforms so that the searches can be limited to more specific types of sources? Yes. So this is, I think, the question here is for the purposes of post-search facet filtering, there's a desire to have more granularity in the source types so that you can have a more precise kind of filtering. I know that we've had some discussions about expanding and enhancing the source types that are available in EDS. I don't have, it's not the area that I work in, so I don't have the specifics on that, but I can reply back. I can get more information on that specific question to you after the webinar, once I consult with the person who actually has the right answer to it. How were known item searches determined in your graph from the first few slides? Click through, title, radio button. When I showed an example of the query classification, what we did is, and that analysis is a work in progress. I just showed some preliminary findings from it. What we did is we took a sample extract of the top 500 most frequently occurring terms across our platform. And then we also looked at, sorry, not the top 500, top 2,000 for the platform as a whole, and then looked at the specifically broken out by market, so 500 for each of the 4 major markets that we serve. And we did a manual classification, so the human being used their judgment to determine whether or not the query was a known item search or topical search. And where there was ambiguity about where it classified, then we put it into the other category. So there are certain kinds of queries that it's not 100% clear what the query type is. So in those cases, we treated those as other. So it was manually detected. Let's see if there are any more questions here. I've got 1 minute left, so I think I'll wrap it up. I will review the chat to determine whether or not there were any other questions that I wasn't able to get to, and I will reply back to those individuals with answers to those questions. I think we're at the end, so Rachel, do you want to do a wrap-up for us?
Sure. Thank you, Tito. That was great. And thank you, everyone, for attending today's webinar. As a reminder, this webinar was recorded, and the recording will be sent to all registrants and also posted on our blog at discovery.ebsco.com/pulse. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.